Ah.
I hate that term.
It blew me away when I saw that. I went, that's incredible comedy right there. That is a dad joke beyond dad joke.
So welcome to Wise and Nerdy, where we talk real stuff. So, all right, Jed, you got an opening song to play?
Of course I do. Oh, man. You ready for it?
Yeah.
He
I'm
said
excited.
Vito,
enthusiastically.
Vito already killed me right now with that genius comedy.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who are bringing their unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
Hello and welcome to the podcast where Charles is completely silent because he
You're supposed
doesn't
to
want to
drive
talk.
this. Why do I have to drive for every trip, sir?
Because I like being chauffeured.
This is how it was when we drove 14 hours to Chicago. Sure, I helped drive. 2 hours. I got 2 hours out of them out of 14. The rest of the time I drove. And I had to entertain him.
And
the whole time.
When I drove, the estimation on when we would arrive just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, when he drove, we got traffic. When I drove, we were good.
We were stuck in traffic, and the only thing we had to look at was these stupid windmills that were on the side of the road.
I thought you just meant Joe was driving really slow. He's going by the speed limit, but the rock god goes 85.
Thought it was a moment where it's like, oh, we're going south. We shouldn't be in Florida. Turn it around.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have the music, Joe, you can do the opening. You got this.
All
buddy.
right. And those two amazing voices that you heard are Steven and Anthony Vito. Which Steven is a recurring guest. We know him. We love him.
Of course.
Daddy Adams.
Daddy
I love
Adams.
you guys.
And for those that don't know, Vito, I'm going to let him introduce himself more than that. He's another one of our volunteers for the digital media track at DragonCon. What else are you known for, Vito? Because you have a lot of digital media stuff out and about as well.
I do. Thanks for having me. This is hilarious. We had so much good time in the green room that I'm excited what the show is. A podcast producer and editor, worked on over 1,600 episodes across 50 different shows, internal and external. And my day job is production manager for the University of South Florida College of the Arts. So I deal with live audio, deal with recorded audio, a little bit of everything, do some theater, do some lighting, and glad to be here.
Nice.
Hey, Raj, you're a Florida man.
Yeah, beautiful Tampa, Florida. You know, when you go to around Tampa area, it's more like New York again. So is it really the South?
It's the north of the South, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I might need to talk to you about catching up some of my Finding the Stories episodes on editing.
About time. You've only been teasing us with that for, 5 years now?
The only person in this world that I know listen is Phil Keating and Daddy Steven. They'll be okay. I know that's your Daddy Steven. That's okay.
Oh, that's me. I was like, wait, hold on. Who's this Daddy Steven imposter?
I'm the Rock Out podcast, and you're the daddy of podcasting.
That's right. No, you know it. Yeah, I totally listen to the show. I listened just yesterday.
Oh, well, where's Rando Kid? There? Oh, I speak it and he shows up.
You summoned him?
Big Rando right here.
Yes, Kurt is still recovering. Have you guys been watching his little daily blogs that he puts out?
Nope.
He's getting a little stir crazy, but yeah, he is definitely still recovering. So.
Oh, Well, he'll be missed. We love a Kurt.
Yep. Yeah, we still don't know how much weight he lost from the skin that they removed. We had an over-under a few episodes back, but yeah.
Tune in next time.
Like and subscribe for part 69. So that's that.
Nice. Sorry.
The more you know, dude. Anyway, Joe, that is not what we call to talk about. Keep the show in order. See, I'm out of town, so I don't have to run crap.
Yeah, you're the moderator. Everyone else is the wise and nerdy.
More nerdy than wise, you know.
All right, it's time for
It's the question of the week.
Now, why are we catering to homie? I mean, I am on 3-hour time difference. I'm exhausted. I showed up. Why you keep playing this voice? You can't even show up to Dragon Con. You can't show up to this. Stop trolling, or not trolling. You're trolling me. You're catering to him. Make him earn it.
Okay.
Question of the week.
That's better. At least you get it right.
Incredible.
Very enunciated.
Oh man. The question is, would you rather have the ability to transform into anything or teleport to anywhere?
Oh.
Transform into anything
Living.
That's okay.
Oh, I was like a bookcase. Like that seemed like that would be fun.
Wait, what? Why would make it living? Like you're turning into a bird?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Like a squirrel or something.
Did you want to be a coffee mug?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to know something that brings joy to everyone's life? It's a coffee mug. All right.
Yeah, don't kink shame Joe. If he wants to be a coffee mug, he can be a coffee mug.
My bad.
I would like to be a Stanley Cup, thank you very much.
Oh,
Like
man.
the hockey one or the dumb wife one?
The dumb wife one, of course. That's how I'll get all the love and affection.
Not that
My
they're
wife just
dumb
popped in with
wives. But yeah. The wives are not dumb. The fact that that's the fad because it's
Right, yeah.
Whatever.
Big dumb cup.
Yes.
It's very heavy too. It's filled with water. I would say originally I was asking because like ability to transform into anything, like something that's not in reality, like could you transform into a vampire? But I like the idea that we defaulted to like non or inanimate objects as the question there. I always said this as because it's kind of a similar question to like what your superhero power would be. Teleportation, absolutely. I'm assuming the teleportation works as advertised. There's not any like weird. You could get lost in like the realm or
you seen Jumper?
Because if I teleported, I could boom be there with you guys. You know what? I could just be hanging out with you guys. Not here. Quickly.
Yeah.
Can you teleport into a wall accident though? Like can you teleport your foot into like the middle of your second floor on accident? That's the stuff I would be wary of.
That would definitely be a huge concern.
I need to know some rules before I tell this wicked crazy genie what I want.
Better be careful. Well, we could go with the jumper rules that Charles came up with. It has to be a place you've visited, and then he has, because I don't know if you've ever seen Jumper, but he's got that wall of pictures of different places he's visited to, so that he can visualize where he's jumping to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like my jumping career would end really fast. Like it would just, I would accidentally jump into like the bottom of the ocean. Be like, whoops, it's over for me.
Well, I mean, early in the movie, I guess he didn't jump into, he jumped out of the water.
Right? Yeah, he saved it. Yeah,
spoiler
Joe.
alert for that. I don't know. It's like
1990s,
20 years old. Yeah. 25-year-old movie. It's
also one of the movies that set up a sequel that never was going to happen, which was a tragedy.
Well, I'm told they deviated significantly from the book, but the author actually kind of liked some of the vision, and he wrote. So there's another jumper in the movie. He wasn't in the book, and so the author liked that character so much he wrote a book about that character.
All right, good for him. Yeah.
So we got Steven wanted to be a big dumb cup, and Vito was to travel around the world in a blink of an eye. What about you, Joe?
I would love to be able to teleport. I think that would be awesome.
See, you know the reason my mind goes to inanimate objects because I grew up with the superhero friends and the Wonder Twins, and they never turned into. They rarely turned into like birds. They turned into like guns and mops and buckets. And stuff. It was weird. So weird what they turned into.
Mildly useful skill to have, but somehow they still fought crime, and it worked out every time.
You're like, hey,
Yeah, I think the
honey,
monkey-
I'm a bazooka now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could turn into like a jet, and then you could get to where you wanted to go because I'm a jet now. And I'm guessing if I can transform into a jet, then I can also have fuel all the time because that's the kind of jet I'm going to be. I'm
Charles
really
would turn
been in the
into
rules.
Optimus Prime.
Yes. Why not? That sounds cool.
He just run around yelling "roll out" everywhere.
So we went before I left for Vegas. We went to see Screen Unseen, and it was a rated R film. And we're sitting there early, so we're trying to guess what movie it would be. And Transformers 1 is coming out. And it's like, ooh, Transformers 1. I was like, that's not a rated R. It's animation, number one. Number two, it's not rated R. And then I went on this tirade of every foul thing that Optimus Prime could say. It's not stuff we can repeat on this show, but it cracked me up. All right, it made me laugh. I don't know if my wife laughed that much, but it was funny. So,
man.
But yeah, you know, Vito, that'd be kind of cool to be able. If so, Joe made it had to be live things, but he didn't say it couldn't be fictional. Vampires are technically alive, and werewolves and Loch Ness monsters. That'd be Cthulhu. I'd love to transform into Cthulhu some days. That'd be pretty awesome.
Like you're just a kick-ass mind flayer all of a sudden, just tentacles everywhere.
Yeah.
Just, why not?
That's awesome.
I just played D&D last night, so it's on my brain. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, he's got a weird Cthulhu thing going on.
Yeah, we're obsession with mind flayers. All right. John says, getting older, I'm more gassy than I used to be, so I'm turning into a car. Which reminds okay, the lower half, I don't think you're old enough to understand it. Well, no. Those are days might understand this, but I don't think around. But there was this 1980, 48, I don't know, some kind of Saturday morning cartoon about this teenage kid, and every time he got hot, it wasn't just the sun's burning, but like he saw some cheerleader. Every time he got hot, he turned into a car, and he had to like run away from people, and it was so weird. And I thought it was the coolest thing. Like he turns into a car, and we went until I was older, and later going, oh wow, that was really weird. It's like, oh, you're at the high school. Oh no, this girl kicks you in the cheek. Oh no, you better go out in the parking lot. You're turning into a car now. So that's John.
It's so funny because there's so many other like motor vehicles that are make more sense to turn into than a car. Just very like, are you hauling people with you? Like, I guess like a motorbike or like some sort of like motorized scooter situation maybe is more efficient than like an actual like you just turn into an SUV. Okay, good luck getting through the Atlanta traffic.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I would like to turn into an old DeSoto. That's the kind of car with the wings on the back. You know, it'd be great.
well, definitely
wall
not the
tires.
Tesla truck. That thing's ugly as
No.
crap, man.
It is. I saw one wrapped in town. Somebody wrapped it with vinyl orange. And all I could think was, that's not helping, buddy. That's not making it even better. But good on you, though. Keep it up.
Oh man.
Roll that dice.
Oh.
These are giving me
How
the life
do
right
I?
Oh,
Did you guys
how
see
do
that?
I?
How do I?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do I? And this is, I saw Vito that on your Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, that you specifically listed that you're a lighting designer. So I this how do I is because of that. How do I get good lighting in my studio?
Ooh, so there's a lot of different options. I will say I'm a theatrical lighting designer, so live audio and film audio, or live theatrical lighting versus film or TV or studio lighting, which is slightly different. But I mean, you can go a long way with really solid flat panels. I'm just a big fan of color changing lights, as you see everywhere. I have just a little LED flat panel that sits below here. It's kind of washed out, but that's okay. And then I have just a hue light that's hanging out in just one of those Philips hue lights hanging out above me to get that purple color. And then I just have a nice little key light. El Gato Key Light Slim to be exact. Please sponsor us.
Those are nice.
As the face light, those are just pretty clean ways to do it. It's really just about kind of the distance. Lighting design is kind of all about going back to trigonometry. It's all about distance and height and
you assume a lot of this panel, sir. Go back to trigonometry. I
never took that.
Yeah.
It's not great.
I never took any trig. Forget that.
It's
that
bad.
sounds hard.
Yes. So actually, John's correct. Modern lighting now, we deal a lot with LED and color changing units. So they're a lot stronger than they used to be. So it used to be that we had to put gels in front of them to change the colors. And we still do on some of our incandescent lighting, but kind of how to make your studio a little better. Just think about how many different points of lighting you want. One would be straight on. Two, you'd want it 45-degree angles. Thank you, Mr. Stanley McCandless, for that theory. And then also backlighting, which helps kind of create some sort of ambiance behind you. So those are the how do I's. Now, as for finding physical fixtures, there's hundreds of them out there. Just try to go with the name brands, because sometimes there's some not great ones out there that luminosity isn't perfect. You don't get the quote unquote foot candles that you would in some of the name brands. So there you go.
All right, dumb question of the week. What are foot candles? So I pictured literally like a foot of wax with a wick coming out of the toes. You just light it up. What are you doing? Foot candle.
Yes, so kind of it measures luminosity. Foot candles and lumens, but it actually it derives from that. It's I want to say it's an old British measurement, and it just measures the amount of light on a surface. So you're able to kind of see how many points of light and or lumens that your lighting is getting on your face, in our case, scenery, or on the walls, let's say.
Is that the same as a light meter? Is a foot candle you're talking about? It's a tool for measuring your light?
Yeah, so it's a way to measure lumens, luminosity.
Okay.
So if you had a light meter in front of you, it'll tell you what the lumens are, or foot candles, and that kind of gives you what the.
It sounds like something that somebody's not letting go of, and at some point, like in another 3 years, Vito's gonna say foot candles. Everyone's like, "What are you talking about?"
It's just one of those American measurements.
Hey, boomer, you mean lumens?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like boomer. That's like 2 generations older than me. What are you calling me a boomer for? It's like, because you don't let go foot candles.
Yeah,
that's why.
It's like working. Like I work on cars sometimes, like pound feet of torque or foot pounds, like a foot candle. Same thing.
Yeah.
Foot candle.
I even stopped worrying about the miles per gallon on a vehicle, because they're set to like 1950 standards and not these roads and conditions and everything else that we measure by. And when I'm looking at a hybrid or an electric car, especially an electric car, and I see early days they put MPG, I'm like, that's not a thing with an electric car. But that's what people
Those
do.
gallons of electricity.
Right.
Now they do what MPGE. It's like an estimation of gallons you would have used going that speed, but like heaters change it. Crazy.
It's like it's like battery power. How much battery miles? I don't know.
I just want to know how far I can get before I have to charge again. That's all I need to know. Be simple. You can go probably about 300 miles. Okay, cool. That's good enough.
For us in America, we just need to know how many minutes down the road. That's 45 minutes away. That's 2 hours away. That would be a better measurement for us, because we measure things in time, not actual miles.
You're right.
But once you get that estimate, you have to beat it, though.
That's Joe. Speed kills, sir. Speed kills. I got a video for you to watch. But that used to be a thing, right? With the GPSs, I would always try to beat the estimate. But that was when GPS wasn't nearly as good. Now it's just like, hey, dummy, you're going to get pulled over and kill somebody. You're still not going to beat us. But that's what we're talking about. So I learned a little bit. So, Steven, you might need to go get your kids so Vito can learn and practice how to actually explain these things to people to understand. I want to hear what your kid does with foot candles. I really want to hear that. But
I'll tell them all about it tomorrow morning.
But like even here, you can see, one, I have a MacBook Pro, so the built-in camera is actually pretty nice. But I just have a little key light off to the side, 45 degrees. I turn on this little hotel lamp, and then I got the window open behind me, and it gives that depth. And that's kind of, I mean, Joe goes with the haunted hallway look with this direct fluorescent light on his face. He's actually tan in real life. But yeah.
I've got my key light. my key light's bouncing off. I got a bouncing off the white wall in front of me, to soften it, to diffuse it. Then I've got the hue lights, and I can change them different colors. Like, you got your red and your bright lights, and then the purples, and there's blue kind of. Yeah, these lights are fun. Vito's right. Like, get yourself some hues, and you can have a blast. Look at Joe. Joe's just got dance party mode over there.
Yeah. And it does depend on your camera too, being able to absorb it all. In the last few weeks after DragonCon, I haven't put my studio back together, so I used the Anchor, and it's very whited out and absorbs everything. Joe's gonna get a new camera, but if we put my camera in Joe's studio, he would look different because of absorb the light. But I think Steven just tries to ride trends, and he's very demure right now. Yeah. He's just
very mindful.
The most mindful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I learned it from Bill, Run Jump Stomp Bill. Like he did a handful of videos on making better videos, and he was like, I use the camera he uses. He was like, look at the white balance and how many lumens it. I'm like, I've never even thought about how many K of light my camera is set for. And then I matched it up, and I was like, oh, geez, that actually helped a lot. I learned a ton from those videos about lighting.
Here's a quick example of because I could do that on the Elgato face cam. Thank you, Joe, for the recommendation. But like color temperature then sort of really matters when it comes to film and video. So as you see, like that's more of a cooler. That's 28, and I kind of live on about 5,000. But like then you get into like contrast and error saturation, and you get the colorful, or you get it a little more black and white. That's just all kind of sort of it. So that's kind of like the film part of it. So it's like when you go see a show, a rock show, it's all about super saturated colors, making sure spotlights are there for the people you want to put your eye on. And of course, everything that's moving is in darkness, so that you're able to kind of do that sleight of hand. But when it comes to cameras, it's all about getting that white balance and adjusting in that sense. So sometimes there's color correction and that world of it. So creating a studio lighting is a little slightly different, but different fixtures too.
You ever see those shows about they've been remastered or whatever? Not necessarily. I mean, yes, they say they're remastered. I'm sure they do some things to them, but like the Golden Girls, if you go watch that on Hulu or whatever now, you can get it in high def, and it looks 1,000% different. And no, they didn't do anything. It's just what the camera captured, but our recording / broadcast technology then couldn't do it. So if you remember watching 80s and 90s TV, it has a certain look to it. But that's more or less because of the broadcast and the TV. So you go watch them on Hulu now. It's like, holy crap. I feel like I'm sitting on set watching them rehearse versus actually watching a finished show at this point. So lighting and the way it absorbs is really cool.
Some of those remasters, they don't live up to their hype because it depends on what software they're using. Because a lot of it's digitally enhanced. And so depending on what filters they push it through, you can lose a lot of everything from it. So,
I think they didn't I don't think they did anything with that one. That's what I'm saying is that it's not like full HD, but it's not fuzzy. It's like, it just told me that the cameras captured a lot more than our technology could handle then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So while you roll the dice, Joe, Vito, this is your $1 million idea, man. I need an app that say, this is the camera I have, and this is the lights, the Elgato lights, whatever. This is the lights I have. I can punch in a few numbers. How do I set it up? It goes, boom, do this. Put one light here, put your Elgato light here, put this camera right here, offset. And I'd be like, I'd pay you good money for that app, sir.
It's called AutoCAD. I'm kidding. we draft out the Motel 6
for me. There's nothing auto about AutoCAD.
That's very true. Generally, in those situations, you get the room, and then you kind of understand what the dimensions are, the distance, and that's when you can understand what the throw distance of the instrument that you need, and that's where that trig comes in. So, but yes, is there an app that I just hit a button and it just figures it out for me? Not necessarily, but that also keeps us lighting designers in business.
You can't AI if you can't see the room. Get yourself a LiDAR scanner and spin it around.
Have you looked at furniture on anything? Have you looked at Lowe's or Home Depot or IKEA? See it in your room. No, it doesn't work. Believe it. It's getting there.
Not ready.
That corner doesn't quite fit there, huh?
I'll ask for Vito's 10% perpetuity. That's it.
See, if I teleported, if I had to teleport, then I could just go there and be like, "Ah, yes, this is what we need."
Dude, you'd pay for whatever you wanted. Yeah. Lighting
you
designer
know how
for
much
that.
you know how much money you could make by starting a shipping company? Be like, I ship specialized packages, 1 hour delivery.
Oh, they played on that in the TV show Supercell. One of the guys got super speed, but he's a weed dealer. So their whole pitch became, if it's not there in 5 minutes, it's free. And they're like, no, I want this much weed. He goes, all right, if it's not there in 5 minutes, it's free. And he just kind of walk up to him like, here you go.
That's awesome.
So,
But that discussion we're done with. So let's move on to.
That's such a dad
Good job,
thing.
Joe. That was good.
Council of Dads.
Which Charles likes to call the Parliament of
Parliament.
Papas!
Owls are wise, and they're called a parliament.
That's right. So, in this one, we're going to talk about what classic movies should never be remade.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me?
There's so many, but...
Yeah.
How about A Star Was Born? Let's start there. We've had like
Which
5
one?
iterations of that. A Star Was Born.
A Star.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Born.
We're done with that. We're done.
There's like
Been
4 or
done.
5 of those.
And they all win Oscars, though, dude. Like, they all end up because Hollywood loves to talk about themselves.
They do, and the music is pretty good in all of them.
Yeah.
So
It's okay. Yeah. You're right. There's been a bunch of those. Gone in 60 Seconds has been done twice, but that's one you could do more than once. That's not fair because cars keep getting cooler. No, wait, maybe not. That's probably the wrong thing.
All of them.
All of them. I mean, let's go with the ones we know, right? Back to the Future, don't redo it. Indiana Jones, don't redo it.
That's what I'm saying. I would take a different tack. I think Back to the Future could be done in a different way, and that I've said it that way to say, it's like, look, we need to be very clear. This is not the one you loved and grew up with. We're going to modernize it. We're going to take it in a little bit different direction and still have some fun with it.
Yeah, let's go back to the 90s.
That's fair, but that's a time travel movie. That's not Back to the Future, right? I can get on board with time travel.
Back to the Future, but when timelines actually matter. That's
like I liked Hot Tub Time Machine enough, that was cool. But yeah, the literal plot, no, not twice. Plus, it wouldn't fly today. Kids couldn't handle the whole date your mom thing. They just get upset.
Dude, I actually went to. They couldn't handle terrorists in a van trying to steal plutonium.
True, yeah.
I could barely handle that when it came out. I was like, what? I can get shot at the mall? What's going on?
That's a good point. Yeah, we got some. It's a different world now. Yeah, don't do that again. Casablanca, don't do that one again. Let that one stay classic.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Vito?
Oh, go Vito.
Here's one that's just like when we're doing this, I'm trying to think of like movies that I'll like watch perpetually year after year, and like what doesn't need it because it just lives on. Princess Bride, I think, is one that's just like that's a story I feel like you might like because of the way technology is. You could be like, oh, we can do that bigger and better, but it's like you don't need to. That's a movie I watch.
A sequel would be good. So they made a sequel to The Labyrinth, and it's if you go in expecting what The Labyrinth did, which is what I did, it didn't quite hit right. But if you go back and watch it as it's not just a sequel to the story; it's a spiritual successor. It's saying Jim Henson, but it's like it's a more modern telling, but in a different way. So you don't hit The Labyrinth, right? I think that would work, Vito, for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't do Princess Bride, but you do obviously some other story that's similar to it in the same vein of how they told the story. So we go, oh, you didn't mess with our childhood, but we like what you maybe did with it going forward. But it has to be very, very important. I was going to say Jaws, Hugh. I was definitely going to say Jaws.
Yeah, leave that alone.
I
But
feel
the
like
Princess Bride thing. Oh, go ahead, Vito.
Oh no. So I was just gonna say, I feel like the Big Shark movie, like you're not redoing Jaws, but like the Meg has a bunch of iterations now, and it's just like let's just throw Jason Statham with a giant CGI shark.
Sharknado.
Cool.
Why not? Jason Statham, fill in the blank. Let's put Jason Statham with some Twinkies. It'll work. There was
Twinkies.
There's I don't know. There's a radio. There's a clip out there from Jason Statham on some English radio station, and they were telling this guy, like, "Hey, you do a great impression of Jason Statham. Do that." He's like, "Don't do that to me," because you never want to do the impression to the actor. And of course, Jason Statham's like, "Just do it." And he goes, "I can only do it in this way." You're in a movie. It's called The Librarian, and you're in a librarian, and he goes into the Jason Statham voice. He's like, "All you blokes had to do was keep your voice down. And now, because of the late fees, I'm going to have to kill you." And Jason Statham's just going to laughing his butt off. Would you not watch that? Jason Statham as a librarian? We just watched Beekeeper, for crying out loud. Come on.
Yeah, take my money. I'm in.
My wife mentions Lord of the Rings. I think that trilogy is fantastic, and I completely agree with that. The one that
some could argue it shouldn't have been made in the first place, but sure.
Only idiots.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Like, I was never going to read those books because I can't get past flipping Tom Bombadil. So the movies was the only way I would ever consume it.
And they took Tom Bombadil out.
Again, the only way I would be able to handle it is if I could get past flipping Tom Bombadil.
I think we need a remastered edition with Jar Jar Binks as Tom Bombadil. That'd be.
Oh, yeah. I'd watch that.
What else, Joe?
Oh, man. The Goonies.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they should ever remake that.
But again, a sequel where, see, we're in that generation, right? We're in this magical generation of movie making where real time has passed and we can do real time has passed movies. And I think it would be interesting. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. It maybe wouldn't be, but you sound like you definitely hate it.
I don't know where they would go with that, but yeah.
So I don't know if this is it's one of those things where somebody makes a fake poster and throws it around and acts like it's real, but apparently there's a Goonies poster flying around the internet for a return that Steven Spielberg signed off on. I haven't validated this. I haven't read it anywhere, but I've seen it a handful of places, and I'm like, maybe? Because they talked about it for years, right?
A follow-up to the cult classic 80s adventure movie has finally been given the green light, in quotes, according to The Sun. The plan is to start developing the ideas for the follow-up next summer with a possible release date of 2026 or 2027.
Developing ideas doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make it. They would have to be real. Like, okay, so talking about movies that waited a long time and then managed to stick the landing. Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick was flipping great. And then Bill and Ted was another one that I didn't expect to love. And that third one, it hit during COVID, and I was like, life can be good. Like, we can get good things. It was so
Bill
awesome.
And Ted Face, the music, that bonus scene at the end was so good.
It's so good. So I think it's doable, but you got to really believe in the material. And if they get those kids back as adults, like, they've got to really, like, it's got to be perfect. They got to know what they're doing. You can't just phone it in.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point about you have to have a passion for it. If you love it, I think it'll work. We talked about that about Borderlands, how it was obvious that the director and whoever had the final approval of the scripts changes didn't ever play the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you see, Uncharted. I'm not saying Uncharted was a great movie, but it felt like the game.
I liked it. I've never played the game, but I enjoyed the movie a lot.
It was fine.
Yeah.
And so that suffered from origin story-itis, which is when you go to a movie and you see a character you love, but they only become the character you love in the last 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Like, he gets his holsters in the last 10 minutes of the movie. Lone Ranger did the same thing, where the Lone Ranger became the Lone Ranger, like, in the last 10 minutes on top of the train punching people. Yeah, they need to, if you're going to make a movie about a character, make it the character. Don't make us wait 2 hours for it.
I saw this advice on TikTok about hosting a panel, and I can't tell what conference it was at, but it's obviously some kind of professional conference. And it was a clip, but he says, we're almost in a panel. I haven't introduced my panelists, have I? And he goes, that was intentional because you as the audience, I don't know what the topic was, but it sounds like the topic was on how you create audience and tell stories or whatever. He said, you don't just introduce your panelists or your people or your interviewee, you get them to show who they are. And now we trust you because of who you are. And now I want to know what you do. And I think you talk about that origin story, man, if they just did the game Uncharted 2 and just dropped you right into it and then went back either in flashbacks, told the origin story, or don't even tell it. Now we love Tom Holland and this guy. Let's get a second film. How did he become who he was, or a TV series. Sure. But Joe, let's flip it. What classic movie would you like to be remade?
Ooh, a classic that I would like to see remade. That is a really good question. I'm not sure. Well, they're classics for a reason. Because the original is so beloved that
I would dare say most of the OG, the originals that are so beloved are based off of something else or a remake of something else that we just don't realize. But I've got one. Most people don't know about the series, but it's the Road 2 series with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. And and they're great comedies, and they're singing through the whole thing as they do because they're both crooners, but they're both very good comedians. And it's just these kind of wacky off the wall adventures where they go to Rio and they go to Zanzibar and all these other places. And each movie is its own thing. And they were traveling movies. And it was just fun. Some of it doesn't hold up today. Just so if you go look it up, people, this is in the 50s and 60s they made these movies. But most of it is pretty funny. And during the 90s, I was like, man, I would love to see Neil Patrick Harris and Nathan Fillion redo those films. Nowadays, I don't know who it would be, but I think it'd be. If you're a fan of it, it's a classic film. But if you've never seen it, that's the other thing, Joe. Our generation sees, like my kids saw Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 before they got to see 4 and 5 and 6. So that was like their films. And like, I should have shown them to you. I didn't watch it. My wife's like, oh, here, pick out a DVD. And they picked it out and watched it. Like, you should have shown them 4, 5, 6 first. But that was their start, right? So I don't know. What about you, Vito or Daddy Adams?
Oh man, like what would you want? Because I immediately think like, what's a movie that didn't really quite didn't get the reception?
Okay.
And a remake would help do that. And I just don't have any off the top of my head. I sometimes think back to like, what would an updated version of like Singing in the Rain be? Like going back, like wouldn't that be neat to kind of update that for a new age? Now, granted, that's a classic that I absolutely love, and just spoiler alert, I'm a theater person, so I love singing and tap dancing. But like, bring it back, do something different, create it more modern. I think that would be an interesting take on it, in a way. And I'm assuming we're adapting in these worlds.
What was that one with? I could have told you. I'll try to tell you. He's in the new Blade Runner. He's
Ryan Gosling.
Thank you, Ryan Gosling. L.A. Noir, L.A. something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The one where they were like a bunch of gangsters and stuff, right? Is that?
I think so. I mean, they won a ton of awards. I obviously haven't gotten to see it, but I'm wondering if that would fit your Singing in the Rain.
Oh, La La Land.
La La Land. Thank you.
There were no gangsters in La La Land.
La La Land. No, I was mixing that up with. I was mixing that up with the video game L.A. Noir, which is about gangsters that came out at the same time. We went to the same place, wrongly, but we went to the same place. So have you seen that video? Does that kind of fit what you're talking about, or?
Yeah, so I mean, and that actually did a lot because, like, man, I feel like Golden Age there's just a lot of musicals that weren't necessarily like, oh, we made a musicals movie, and it's kind of like we lose a little bit, and now they're doing a lot of adaptations to stage musicals. Like we're getting Wicked in 2 parts, which who asked for that? Some of like Les Mis was whatever, but like yeah, La La Land kind of like scratched that itch of like a original new age movie musical situation that had like real singing and dancing, and everyone kind of thought about like Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Yeah. And like what their performances were, but I really enjoyed it as kind of a change of pace from your general movie going. But yeah, this is a good question. Like, what should be remade? Because like you think like, well, I don't want to touch that, but like, would it be interesting to see like a new take on Godfather?
Yeah, I think you could do that one again.
Bring any of the gangster movies from my teenage years in. Casino, Heat, all that stuff. I would love to. We need a new. We do, Vito. I'm glad you said that. We need a new era of bad people on screen. That's what we need to see. The Ray Liotta's. We need another generation of Ray Liotta and Harvey Keitel.
Yeah,
I thought of one that I think I would like to see remade, and people can debate whether it's a classic or not, and we'll get to that. But The Last Starfighter.
I was thinking that a minute ago. Yeah, that popped in my head. You could do that way more fun now with more technology. It might actually make it.
Oh yeah. It has such an awesome an awesome premise that I think would resonate really well with today's audience.
Yeah.
So
I think like I was sitting here thinking it's not so much a remake, but just franchises that I would like to see live on and readapted just so I get to watch more of them. And the Lethal Weapon franchise immediately popped out to me because I love that dynamic. I love the comedy mixed with the action, mixed with the stuff. And I feel like we get buddy cop stuff sometimes, and we kind of get things that scratch the itch, but like Lethal Weapon itself just had so much going for it. I know they did make the TV series, but it would be cool to yeah, I've heard that it was all right, but I would love to see just a straight up movie, like put them back together, and make it, even if it wasn't, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, just that kind of vibe. You call it Lethal Weapon, make it a new thing, give us 2 new cops, and let's go. I think it'd be fun.
Lethal geriatrics.
They're talking about a Lethal Weapon 5, but I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, there's the Red movies that are, I mean, it's not buddy cop, but
they're okay.
Those the first one is really, really good. The second one is all right.
John Malkovich, man.
Give it a few more years, because like things are getting rebooted like that. Evil Dead, right? We went the original Evil Dead was 82, 84, somewhere in there, and it was not meant to be a horror comedy, but it absolutely was a horror comedy. But then 2 years ago, so give it 30 years between the first one and the new first one, and then went horror, and people who love that went nuts over it. And like, don't go back and look at what it's based off of because it's 2 different genres, man. But it can be done because you forget about it,
Forget about it.
That going back to that kind of goes with like Charles was kind of touching on it. We're just like not do a sequel, but build something in a universe you created. And like we always say universe, like I'm not talking like MCU extended universe, but like you create a really good story. It's like you can create something in that timeline and keep going. And I keep thinking like, man, the Men in Black, I think they made 3 of them and then a 4th one with 2 brand new characters. Like that was such a cool concept just for that particular world that you could keep kind of making new things out of that with brand new agents and have brand new storylines and what the aliens are doing. Yes.
The Last Jedi, they should make that. They called it Harry Potter Part 8. They remade that already.
Oh man.
Yeah, Vito. That's what they did with Jurassic Park. My childhood can say I love Jurassic Park. My adulthood could take Jurassic World differently because it's this in-universe kind of story. I'd love them. I'd love somebody to take on the Firefly Serenity universe and tell some more stories. And let's see if it was the characters that we loved so much, or could we really enjoy that world?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
But
I love space that's dirty and grungy, and it's the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek, right? In Star Wars, you hit something with a wrench to make it start, and that gives it some appeal. But Star Trek, everything was perfect and worked for the most part. So like Serenity is kind of in that middle space where there was cool, pretty stuff, but there was also like the beat it with a hammer until the engine turns over kind of stuff that was appealing.
Yeah, but they would definitely have to have Mark Gunn's Ravager song on it. Oh man!
Roll some dice.
Roll the dice of destiny.
Thanks, Jack Black.
Oh,
dad jokes are like Mojo Jojo. They're bad.
It's your favorite, Charles. It's always your favorite.
I brought some.
Oh, okay. Let's hear them, Steven.
You want one?
Yeah.
No.
How do you cook an alligator in a crock pot?
Oh. For those not watching the video, he pulled a joke. I mean, like he laughed. He said crock and laughed and barely got popped out because he's already cracking up at the joke.
That was good.
Yeah.
So, Charles, if a cow doesn't produce milk, is it a milk dud or an utter failure?
No.
It's a bull.
Amazing.
It's a bull.
Maybe she's just not in the mood.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
We can keep going, but I don't want to milk this joke.
Oh, Joe! Now I regret showing up for the show tonight.
The truth is, the joke is all dried up.
Oh my god! Can we just cut him out right now? I can't even. Kelsey, get your boy. Get your boy. Shut the power switch down on his studio right now, Kelsey. This is no.
Okay, guys. This has been fun, but we need to move on.
All right, I'm pivoting out of this. I spent 2 weeks in London in August on holiday. So here's one. I jumped on the tube the other day. I got toothpaste everywhere.
I hate it so much.
I went to the London Underground themed fancy dress party, but everyone was wearing platforms.
You have to understand all the links. I get it's kind of smart, but at the same time, yeah, there we go, Joe. Roll the dice. Yes, hit that button before I tell a real bad dad joke.
Time for a commercial break.
Hey, you know what? Let's. If you got a little bit of music to play behind this, that won't wash them out. Steven, wow. There we go. Yeah, all right. So, patreon.com/wise_nerdy gets you the full 10-hour recording that we do every week of the show.
An hour recording.
Sometimes it's legit 2.5 hours. I mean, you can get a lot on Patreon, plus the community and everything else. Come join us there. And we want our fellow papas here to say where they can be found. So, Steven, where can we find you, sir? Where can they throw money your way?
They can find everything I do over at linktree/SteveH&H. Primarily, my brand new show, The Half Hour of Power, I'm doing with Smashy again. We're every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on twitch.tv/2dorks, and you can support that show at twodorks.net/support. Send us $1 or $2 to keep us rolling.
And Vito, I know you do something.
Oh my gosh, these really are 2.5 hours. I'm gonna hit that subscribe button. Woo, okay. You can find everything that I work on or with at linktree.com/Anthony Vito _. Find me on all the socials there. But the show that I work on is the Bay Area Examiner. You can find us on Patreon, Substack, all of it. We cover USF athletics. If you don't like USF athletics, it's going to be a weird follow, but come and join us. We have fun working with football season. That's the BayAreaExaminer.com and also on Patreon. But yeah, come find me on socials. We have fun.
Yeah.
All right. And we're back.
You know, we're talking about that 2.5 hours on Patreon, but the thing is, people get to ask questions, and we share stories there that we don't necessarily share, or if we don't get something in the show, but we still want to talk about it, we'll hit it after. So it's a lot of different content that's not quite exactly what we do in the show. And Joe, I know we've got some stories to tell from our Discord, which is going to be a good thing to do. And I'm going to look up some of the things that you can do on Patreon as feedback, and I'm going to go pull some of that feedback.
All righty. Yeah, so over on our Discord, couple episodes back, we were talking about our proposal stories. And so Casey J popped in. Wasn't able to get around to recording SpeakPipe, but left his stories in Discord, and so I'm going to read those off there. So the first one proposal story a friend told me. They had been together for a few years and accidentally got pregnant. So she knew a proposal was coming. He set it up perfect. They had an amazing romantic picnic. It was coming to a close and no ring. She started to look for it and got more and more desperate, even searching his pockets looking for a ring. In tears, realizing he didn't have one, she asks him for a tissue. He passes her a tissue box. She pulls the first tissue out, and tied on the end is the ring.
Incredible.
That's kind of mean. That's kind of mean.
Yeah.
You made sure she cried so that you could pull that out. That's rough.
Yep. But at least it wasn't like in the Jell-O and she ate it. So the next one, it looks like it's his parents. Okay, so Casey's parents. My parents were staying in separate rooms at my uncle's place. My dad burst into my mom's room and said, "Will you marry me?" My mom said, "Oh, Barry, I expected something a little bit more romantic than that." About 20 minutes later, he burst back in, grabbed her hand, dragged her out into the backyard, pointed at the moon, and goes, "It's a full moon. Now will you marry me?"
And obviously, that was a yes. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the story to be told.
That's right.
That's still better than you and Kurt's stories.
And then we have Casey's story. His own story says, when we were dating, my wife told me she didn't want to get married till after she was 21. A few years later, when her 21st came around, she and her mother went away around Europe. On her actual 21st, she went to the Eiffel Tower. Thank God the French love Aussies. She got offered a free ride to the top of the tower and given a bottle of champagne. While she was away, I paid off the ring, got her father's permission, and planned out my proposal. When she arrived home, I told her because we couldn't celebrate her 21st together, I'd like to take her out for a day. I took her into Sydney Harbor, and we had a very fancy breakfast not far from the Opera House. And then they had second breakfast because, that's the part of the world they're in. Afterwards, pretending like I didn't have a plan, I asked if we could go for a walk across the Sydney Harbor Bridge. On the opposite side of the bridge is Luna Park, the oldest theme park in Australia. Surprise, I already have tickets. My plan was that we would go on a few rides and eventually hop on, and I'd propose at the top. Of course, the first ride she wants to go on is the Ferris wheel. So I lie and exaggerate my fear of heights, and I have no idea how thalassophobia, which apparently is the fear of going over water, I'm guessing, since he said it goes out over the water, and say I need to build it up. We then proceed to go on every single ride. The whole time I've got this ring in my back pocket with sharp edges digging into me. It hurt a lot. Eventually, hours later, we end up getting in line for the Ferris wheel. She can see I'm nervous and thinks it's the acrophobia, thalassophobia. By the time we get on, she decides best tactic is to talk to me the whole time and keep me distracted. So we go around a couple of times and I can't get her to stop talking. Eventually, at the top, I just slide forward onto one knee and open up the ring box and ask her if she'll marry me. To which I'm greeted with a chuckle. I've gone and opened the box upside down.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh. Afterwards, we went to the IMAX cinema, which was the biggest movie screen in the Southern Hemisphere, and saw Jurassic World in 3D. And I bought my pirate-obsessed father-in-law a bottle of rum in a bottle shaped like a musket pistol, which he cracked open when my first child was born.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Fantastic. Is that because he shot a shot and landed the girl?
Something like that.
Wow, you guys tell dog jokes like, oh, move on. And I on the spot, musket, baby, shut you.
I was muted, Charles. I'm sorry. You just didn't hear the laughter, but it was there.
Casey, those are great stories. And we love them.
It's okay. We were all laughing on the inside, Charles.
Get out of here, Joe. No, get out of here. So we've got a couple of comments on our episodes over on Patreon. And from both of the two I picked are both from last week's or 2 weeks, whatever, movies that couldn't be made today and Dragon Con Tales. So John says, Joe is only 25 seconds late. And the joke there was Joe actually got into the series before I did, and I jumped in. I put myself live as I'm recording that because I usually record the Patreon stuff. So I'm already talking to the podcast or their patrons, and make it out to where Joe's late all the time, which he's usually behind me because I have nothing better to do than go record and talk to myself. But
usually
he was
by
25
about 5
seconds.
minutes or so.
Yeah. But yeah, he was literally first, but because I'm fast with the button and fast with the words, he still showed up late on the show. So I love that. And then Devo's site for the same show. This is Dragon Con Tales. Thanks for dragging out the podcast, and I appreciate you making me read a bad dad joke in the return of the commentary. So, boom. Boom. What else? What's the next? Is it rolling dice time? Yeah, we got to roll 4 dice.
Sure is.
Daddy, tell me a story.
Oh, this one I brought to the table, actually from before you guys got on, Joe and I were talking, and I found out a way to record everything on my laptop. And he goes, "You want me to record?" I'm like, "Always record, Kyle. Always record." And he goes, "I never record." So the topic of the story is why do you have redundancies? And I was just on stage with Anson Mount a couple weeks ago, and I'm recording the show for him. So I'm like, I had Reaper on my computer all lined up recording. I used Joe's Zoom L8. So it was recording on the board. And then I literally, in one of the recordings, because I couldn't quite reach over him, so I just kind of tossed my phone onto the table. It was just doing a standard notes recording with that. And the reason, Vita, you do live production. Why do we have redundancies?
Because if something could possibly potentially fail, you want to make sure that you have a backup plan for that failure.
Because when you don't, it will fail.
Yes.
Every time.
There's and the fun thing with live theater is sometimes the failure isn't necessarily on the technical side, and you have to figure out how to fix any potential issues that may happen.
Tell us that story.
Where to start? I remember the worst, the first ever. Man, there's lots. Yeah, tech does happen. So sometimes, one time I was calling a show and it's all unscripted. It's a one-man show, so it's just one man on stage, and there's a lot of light, sound, projections we're all dealing with. Just you're kind of sticking to the script, and then sometimes the performer goes off book. And we're right before this giant move that's supposed to be like this giant pin spot. He does a musical thing, and the projections go. And it's like it goes from this pin spot to a WWE type intro. And he skipped the entire lead up to it and starts going to the middle of where the pin spot's supposed to be.
Oh no!
So when you're watching a performer do that, and you go like, "Well, shoot, I don't have a plan for this." And then you get everybody on headset and you kind of figure out an idea. It's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to wait for this moment because he jumps to here. He says this word. We're all going to do it at the same time. It all went at the same time. He adapted to what was going on around him, and it worked out perfectly. Everyone in the audience didn't really notice what was going on, but that was a moment where it was just, sometimes it's like, I got the tech all settled in, but you went off book. And, you can't fault someone for accidentally going off book, especially when it's a one-man show. So that's always
you absolutely can't fault them for that. This is why we have rehearsals, sir.
That's true.
But yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, Joe and Steven, you guys are, I know Joe's a coder. Steven, I think you're in the coding type world. Don't you guys have redundancies in what you do in a different form?
Oh yeah,
sometimes, unless you delete the entire code base of another department, and they have to bring in another company to get that code back.
Joe, this is
source control,
record.
Joe.
No, I deleted it out of source control. That's a story that's already happened on the podcast.
Okay.
But also, you're telling it to Steven, who's trying to get you a job where he works sometimes, and I think they do their research, and it's why they haven't called you back.
That's not true. I just have a bad track record. I don't know if it's me.
They just don't like Steven, so they're like, we can't get rid of Steven, but we're not going to hire any more Stevens.
Could be
Steven won't brag on himself here, but I'll brag on him. He posted not that long ago that he started offering to host the company meetings because they were. I'm ad-libbing a little bit here. I'm going off script, if you will, going to the pin line. So it was, the meetings were boring as crap and nobody paid attention. So Steven stepped in to say, hey, can I bring a little horseshoes and hand grenades pizzazz? I'm like, sure, whatever. And now aren't you hosting meetings for like 200 and 300 people at a time now?
Yeah, I went from hosting like 50 people in our small, like our group to like the overall organization meetings that are like 250 plus people. And that's the people live, not even the people that watch it later. And luckily I've got like a friend of mine who helps me kind of come up with ideas and stuff, and then she keeps me straight while I'm doing the face stuff. She's on the back end on Slack going, "Hey, what if we do this? Hey, we're running low on time." It's the best.
You
It's like
have
I'm
a
a stage
Tyra.
manager.
It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a stage manager who helps me keep the thing rolling, but also know like what time it is, who's going to go next, what do I need to be ready for. We're all about no surprises. That's the rule, especially if you're in front of that many people. Like let's make it as flawless as we can. But yeah, we add music now. I play little stingers, I play the Price is Right music whenever I'm introducing somebody. Like it's that kind of stuff. And I mean, they haven't told me to quit yet, so it seems to be going okay.
What kind of redundancies do you have to build in for that?
Oh man, for that, I mean, it's not much. I just got to know my buttons work. In worst case, if I need to do something, I check it, make sure it works, and I know where that file lives. If for some reason like Steam Deck crashes, I know how to make it. I know how to make it go. So mine's
sometimes
more
you
about
are
prep.
the redundancy. Just have that knowledge. You're talking about adapting to the situation and having that knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's because things go wrong all the time. And I cannot tell you, I mean, I can't. I think it's about 3. But I cannot tell you how many times I've lost a full show recording because there was no redundancy. So the cameras I use usually have 2 video cards in them or 2 memory cards in them. So it's recording to both in case one corrupts. Oh, man. Okay.
Worst. Mm-hmm.
I realize I'm talking to junior daddies here. But back in my day, you could pull a flash drive out of the computer and then you would crap yourself when the message came out saying you didn't eject it. Because I lost a whole entire hard drive of recordings because of that. And nowadays, there's so many back-end redundancies on a computer that you can pull it out and like, hey, stop doing that. But your stuff's fine for the most part.
Yeah. Ashley and I recorded an episode of Horseshoes and Hand Grenades 3 times once because I lost it twice because Audacity crashed when I was trying to save it. We literally said the same jokes over and over 3 times. And everyone who listened was like, I would have never known. And that's what performance is.
That is what performance is. This time with feeling.
Yeah, pretty much. We hate ourselves. Let's do it like we've done it. Like this is the first time we've ever said it.
I mean, that's why I have 4 kids. In case one of them messes up, I got 3 backups.
I'll tell you a quick old-fashioned tech story. I'll do freelance lighting design, and there's the old-timey lighting consoles used to have a floppy disk that you would record onto. Floppy disk, you record your entire show on it. It has the hard drive onto it, and it's an old ETC Express. We don't do that anymore. It's all digital and USB. But I worked on a show, Rocky Horror Picture Show, had it all set up, 3-week run. First weekend goes great. Second weekend, I get a phone call. Hey, Vito, the board isn't working anymore. What do you mean? Open it up. Just has a bunch of alien, language just going across it. Like, it's definitely crashing. And then all of a sudden, completely crashed. And I said, well, luckily I saved it to the floppy disk. And they said, okay, floppy disk that's inside the console. Like, yeah, pulled it out, brought another console, put it in, alien language. And I went, wait, what?
No.
So called support. And they were like, yeah, so when the hard drive crashes on those, sometimes it just corrupts the floppy. I'm like, well, what's the point of the backup?
Right.
Had to go in that night. Man. They just essentially did the show without lights. Had to requeue the entire show on a whole different console. Needless to say, I recorded on the floppy and I took the floppy with me.
Take it out of the computer.
Sometimes the technology is also not your friend.
Now, Hugh, who's here tonight, Hugh has old hard drives that you have to put in some kind of discovery mode or whatever to look at. But it's got your old programs. He's probably still got Cool Edit. If anybody wants Cool Edit from 1985, but you had to spend an hour loading the program, he's got it. I guarantee you.
Heck yeah.
But that's why you do the multiple backups and stuff, man. Anything I need to find, I make sure I put in a couple of different places because I accidentally deleted half of my Dropbox one time because of the Apple. They were being too helpful, and I didn't realize because I was doing the sync right to the Dropbox from the web to my computer, and it put that stuff into recent. And I'm trying to clean up my computer because being slow, and I'm thinking I'm in downloads, and I'm in recent, and I'm just wiping and wiping, and I go to look up something like a few hours later on Dropbox, going, wait, where's my file? And I was able to recover a lot of it. I never recovered the file I was looking for.
Oh no!
And Dropbox had a reversal redundancy. I was just still in the tech happens, man. And you just always have to have a backup if it's important to you.
Yeah, and don't wait to learn that lesson the hard way. Everyone waits until they've lost something before they go, I should do backups. Mm-hmm. Be proactive and just go back up. There's lots of online services for backups. There's cloud storage that keep your stuff safe. Cloud storage isn't necessarily a backup. That's just a remote place to keep your stuff. If you delete it from cloud storage, it doesn't mean you can get it back like you experienced, Charles.
Right.
Yeah. So backups and redundancy can be those are two different things. Keep that in mind.
I have backups on Plenty of Fish, you know. All right, thank you, Vito. Somebody found. All right, Jim, what are you nerding out about,
do people
sir?
still use Plenty of Fish? I
don't know. I was trying to go. I was going through my mind of what dating app would be appropriate for the show that people would laugh at, but it's not super obvious. So, there you go. Joe, what are you nerding out about, sir?
Oh man! So this past weekend, I spent several hours cleaning up my office, my studio here, and yeah, I had let it get kind of really messy, especially with board games. Like all behind me right here used to be just a ton of board games, and so now all of the board games are put away up on the shelf up there, up on the top. But yeah, it feels so much more open and clean, and it feels great. It makes me smile every time I come down here. So that's one thing that I'm nerding out about. The other thing though is an anime called Rising Impact. And I don't know if Steven's ever played this game, and Vito definitely hasn't. But we play a game on here where I say the anime name, and you have to guess what it's about.
So the title is Rising Impact. All right.
Rising Impact. So,
Daddy Adams, what's your wholesome take on Rising Impact?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I've actually seen this anime before. Rising Impact is about a moment when the core of the Earth starts to solidify. And it does like a reversal meteor strike, and it opens up a big hole like in the ocean, and it turns solid. And then there's this tribe of lizard people that live on it, and those lizard people have to find ways to survive. And it's got a little kid lizard that you follow around, and he meets like other creatures and some humans, and it's just about really society rebuilding after the impact of this rising meteor, hence the name. So I'm glad you asked.
Wow. I kind of want to watch that. Sounds cool.
What do you think,
What do I think it's about?
Yeah, what's Rising Impact, the anime, all about?
Oh man, if Steven didn't get it, man, I was honestly thinking Rising Impact was going to be some semblance of there's definitely mech suits involved, and they're going up into space, and we're trying to stop some sort of meteor or alien or something like that. That's where I was going to go with that, because I always feel like there's either space aliens or maybe cards. Definitely mechs. That's definitely a thing. Most of the anime I ever watched was Dragon Ball Z and Avatar, so that's kind of my basis there. Oh, I definitely watched Gundam too. What was the one with the? Oh, where was the one where they had like animals shoot?
Zoids.
That was it. Yep, definitely watched that. Oh, and maybe some Sailor Moon, but don't tell anybody. Shoot, we're streaming.
I saw you trigger Joe's face, but he had to restrain not to correct you on some of the stuff you said there. So very good. But I've played. You guys are rookie moves. You're going with things that make sense. Joe does not watch anime that makes sense at all. So Rising Impact is a high school dating simulator based on the Road to movies by Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. But also the high school principal is a polar bear. But it's not about global warming. No. It is about the Nokia phone and how it should come back. That's what Rising Impact's all about.
So the meteor was actually a Nokia phone, is what you're saying?
No, don't let me in with the losers. No, it's just a society, just a high school, really, that cares about the Nokia phone, and everybody else can't understand it, but they do. It's about superpowers.
I mean, could you imagine how much damage a Nokia phone could cause if it was dropped from orbit?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what it's actually about is it's a golf anime.
I told you, sucker. It does not make sense at all. I told you.
That is heavily inspired by Arthurian legend. The
King Arthur?
Yes. But I mean, half the cast is from Japan. But the main character who is from Japan is named Gawain. And then his friend, who at least he's an exchange student, is named Lancelot. But there's Arthur, Percival, the whole Knights of the Round. But instead of the Round Table itself, or I guess the 12 Knights of the Round Table, they have 12 golden clubs that if you win a tournament, you get one of the golden clubs. And the main character even refers to them as legendary weapons.
When does D'Artagnan showed up? That's what I want to know.
When does what?
D'Artagnan show up.
That's wrong series.
Wrong, yeah.
Wrong series? You have golden golf clubs and a Japanese character named Gawain. Don't tell me I'm in the wrong series, sir.
And the person who scouts him for Camelot Academy for upcoming golfers is named Merlin.
I played this video game.
And they visit the Camelot Academy in the UK, and that's where they meet Arthur. And yeah, so but it's called Rising Impact because that's what they call the main character's special ability to be able to when he hits the ball right on the center of the driver, he sees a flash of light in his mind, and they call that Rising Impact because the ball, as it's going in the anime, it rises 2 more times. Like it almost goes in a zigzag.
It gets a boost.
Yeah, it goes. And
we're still letting the podcast figure out what he did. We're not
like a screwball.
Exactly. And so I actually ended up liking it quite a bit. There's only 2 seasons so far, and it's definitely not done yet, and it's on Netflix. But yeah, the main character is like 6 or 7 years old, and he makes a lot of very interesting comments. Like before every tournament, he talks about how he's ready for the tournament because that morning he took a big poop, and stuff like that.
He's the lizard person, right? He's the kid that I was talking about.
Yep, exactly. So
okay,
but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Rising Impact.
So I happen to have a golden golf club. So now I'm curious.
Wayne, is that you?
Is that you?
Perhaps.
All right, I'm downloading it for my flight for tomorrow. I'm gonna try it out. So I'm downloading it to my phone. Oh, pause, download. Come on.
All right.
Oh, it's based off a manga too. Oh, it's on Netflix. All right.
Yeah.
We have some homework, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna watch it at lunch tomorrow because I gotta know. Or I gotta finish Delicious in Dungeon first, and then I can watch.
Oh, Delicious in Dungeon is so good. There were so many Delicious in Dungeon cosplays at DragonCon. It was great.
They were the best. They were the best.
Steven, what are you nerding out about?
I was thinking a lot about this, and so I listened to last week's episode, or the last episode you have on the feed anyway, where Phil was here, and he talked all about WoW. So he kind of stole my nerding out because I did the same thing. So I had to come up with something new, and that was coming out of DragonCon. You guys are familiar with that convention in Atlanta. where a bunch of nerds get together and pretend they're awesome for a weekend. It's great.
I've heard of it.
So I go, because I'm a nerd who wants to feel awesome for a weekend. And you come out of that with all kinds of creative energy and like, what am I going to make? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? But for me, it also comes with a lot of FOMO of like, how am I going to stay involved with all these friends that I met? I got to get in their Discords, and I want to stay in tune with their Twitters and their socials, and I want to support their shows, and I want to listen to all this stuff. And one thing I was trying to figure out, like, okay, well, I also walked out there going, I failed completely at promotion this year. Like, I didn't have business cards. I didn't, like, you had to come talk to me and I would show you a QR code. Like, I couldn't just hand stuff out. I only had a handful of stickers because I wanted to make them myself to save money. Don't ever do that. That was a bad decision. You don't have the time nor energy to be sitting on the floor cutting out stickers yourself. Yeah, it's a terrible idea. So don't do that. But I've been nerding about like tools and stuff like that, things to use. So I asked in the DragonCon Digital Media Discord about social media tools, and I've stumbled across or was reminded of Buffer.com about sending and posting more. So I've been posting across 4 networks with Buffer whenever we go live, or I have like something to remind people of, or like a cool thing. That's been kind of cool because it actually shows you some insights and some metrics around how those different networks do. So I'm using the 2-week trial to figure out what networks are wasting my time, because you can only post to, I think, 2 or 3 with the free account. So I have 4. So I put the 4 in there, and I'm finding out that Mastodon is worthless, which is kind of shocking to me. Blue Sky is kind of worthless, but I think it's because I don't follow enough people don't follow me. But I'm finding Threads engagement to be really, really good. Threads is it's real bad about showing you nothing but engagement bait in the For You column, and it's making me nuts. Like, I can't wait until they remake Indiana Jones is just something you would see, and then just 80,000 people are yelling in a thread. It's like, come on, y'all, we could do better than this. But I'm finding that to be really cool. So that's been a lot of fun. Speak Pipes, I learned from you guys. I've really been engaging in that. So I'm just finding new ways to try to communicate with the people that I want to engage with, sending stuff out, those were the days trying to lean into the retro side of what we do so I can get that community of nostalgia fans rallied around it. It's kind of like trying to learn how to actually brand ourselves into something. Like what does that look like? So I sat in on the brand panel with Swan and Steph and Mike and learned a lot about like how to do stuff. So I'm nerding out about that, just kind of figuring out how to put myself out there. But it comes with a level of like stress at the same time, because what I'll do is I'll FOMO myself into burnout. And then I'm like, I did that with TikTok last year. You remember that, Charles? I posted like 82 TikToks like after
I was having fun. I was duetting some of them, and he just fell off. I duetted one, and he just stopped doing them.
It's like Charles is on to me. I'm out.
I don't want this kind of attention, people.
So I'm trying to learn how to schedule things so it does it for me. Like when I feel like doing it, I put a bunch of posts out and I let it schedule them for me, like on Buffer, and then I can forget about it. And it kind of eases off that pressure sense of like I got to post every time. I just schedule them for a week and I walk away. And then if I need to pivot, I go delete it and change it. But I don't let it wear me out quite as much, which has been nice.
I guess I need to play with Threads because I really post to Instagram, which now tags and make sure it goes to Facebook, because I'm there, but I don't usually go to Facebook directly to post. And so I'm Instagram and TikTok, and you commented something on one of my Instagrams, and it tied it to Threads. So then I saw some of the stuff you're writing on Threads. I'm like, all right, Instagram keeps trying to get me on the Threads. I'll give it a shot. Why not? But they're not cross connected, right? But it's like, doesn't Instagram own Thread? Anyway, that's not what we call to talk about. But it drives me crazy.
Yeah. I have found that Threads gets me the most people liking and communicating, talking about stuff. I've been impressed with that a lot, and it came with an audience, right? Like Blue Sky. is really great. It's kind of like Twitter in the old days, but no one's there. Just nobody there. And Threads came with Instagram and Facebook audience just built in. Like if somebody clicks a button, they're on Threads now, and you've got them out there. And that's been really the main reason I've spent a lot of time there. And Twitter, I mean, it's there. I just don't visit it as much. They took away TweetDeck and it broke it. Like I don't want it anymore. So that was the big thing.
Since they went to, I wasn't big on Twitter anyway, but since they went to X, I haven't. I'll wait till it lands.
Yeah.
Stupid random kid here. I'm getting distracted by Charles's lips. His camera's oversaturated because it's getting darker, so now I don't have the depth behind me. So it looks like he's wearing lipstick.
There we go.
Onlyfans.com/Rendo Big O. Come on. So, but Vito, you gotta be nerding out about something.
There's a couple. So I was gonna say I was nerding out about a D&D session. I'm gonna do this halvesies. To piggyback off of what you said about Threads, I have a friend who just randomly was posting on Threads and just said like a Doctor Who thing, and then all the Doctor Who fans came and like 20,000 likes and whatnot, and then she kind of pivoted to doing Marvel and DC stuff, and then like the same people would get there. It's funny. Then she was like, I did this really cool thing at work or whatever. It's like 2 likes. And they're like, yep. Would you all want to talk about Captain Marvel? 20,000 likes. It's just really funny how the algorithm works in that sense.
Right.
I like Threads. It's fun. And then you can tag the threads that you're.
But what I'm hearing is, to a certain extent, you can find an audience. Well, I wouldn't say easier, but I kind of want to say easier there. It seems to, if you use a hashtag, it seems to matter, perhaps.
I think more in that world, like more people in the worlds that we want to be in are ditching Twitter and going to Threads more. Because you're right about Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky is great, but it's just there's not a lot of traction. So it's hard to do 3 different types of. I got to post on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and whatever. So, but what I'm nerding out about, I'll start with this. So I was sick last week, and when I got unsick, the ballast burnt out in our bathroom light. Our fluorescent lighting fixture. So we had compounded vacations because of the way our work schedule worked. So my wife and I with my parents went to London for 2 weeks. I came back, went to work for 4 days. Then DragonCon happened. So I let this light just be half functional for a good month. I was like, all right, we need to fix this. So I got better and was like, all right, I got to do something. I got to get out of this guest room. I'm going to fix this thing. And I went, you know what? I'm not going to replace the ballast. I don't want fluorescent lighting anymore. I want LEDs. It's going to be more cost effective. I don't have to change bulbs anymore. It's going to be easy. So went to Home Depot and went, I want this fixture. Pulled the old fixture out, tried to put this new one up. It's not going to work with the leads. All right, go back to Home Depot. I'm going to fix this. My wife's like, we don't need to do this now. I'm like, nah, I'm in the zone.
Yeah, I'm in the zone. The auto zone.
There you go.
Brought to you by AutoZone.
So then second time I went, it's like, this is the fixture I want. And they're like, okay, hey, would you just open this one? Well, here's a brand new box you can take. Great. Brought it back home. Wasn't the same fixture. Same box and everything.
Oh, no.
Not the same fixture. I need the leads to go through the side, and it wanted to be again flush mount for the top. So I went, okay, back to Home Depot. Went to Home Depot, got the third time. Got it up in the air, got it functional, first shot, wired it all together, turned it on, let there be light. And I went, you know what? I feel accomplished. And I'm just super nerding out at like, I'm doing the dad chores, just straight up choring and accomplishing a good fixture change. And my wife was like, oh, cool, there's lights. It's like, you don't understand. I pulled something out of the ceiling, and
I went through an epic journey to get here. You want a quick tip there? A 25-cent metal bit would put a hole right in the side of it for you, and you could have just done it that way.
Yeah.
But you got the job done. No, I get it, man. I get it. Just that you hit a boundary, you overcame the boundary, and you just put in the effort, and you tried something you'd never tried before, and you succeeded. That's awesome.
Home ownership is fun and hard, and the joys of with just the little repairs you learn how to do when you don't have that. So that was just something that I nerded out on. I definitely also nerded out on a D&D session, but that seemed more like that felt more with the dad theme.
Hey, we do it all, man. So tell me about the D&D as well. What got you going there?
I'll go quick. So I do a remote. It's weekly, bi-weekly, whenever we can. It's fully remote because we have friends across the country, and we started this in 2020 during the pandemic just to play a session. And we had one friend DM, and we've been kind of doing this with multiple different campaigns since then. So like 4 years. But we started Curse of Strahd. We did a few sessions, and there was a moment where half the party wanted to do leave the town and go find somebody, and half the party wanted to stay and be a part of an event. And we legitimately had this conversation, like, are we gonna split the party? Which always sounds like a bad idea, especially in Strahd. But we did that, and the DM said, we'll make different sessions. And because it was remote, it worked out where we could we completely cut each other off, had different chats to talk about what we're doing. So I had no idea what the other people were doing outside of the DM. So 2 whole months happened, and of doing 5 sessions, 2 months. And yesterday, and because of my travel and Dragon Con, so it ended up being 3 whole months total. We got together yesterday, and the whole session was literally just us at a campfire, all talking about the stuff that we did. They did a whole separate campaign side quest. We did a whole separate campaign side quest, and we spent 2.5 hours of our normal just D&D session time talking about it in character, out of character, how cool it was. And it was one of those things, like, I love RPGs and tabletops, White Wolf, Deadlands, all of it, because of that moment. It's like, and these are also friends where there's some of the friends I didn't see for 3 weeks because we weren't part of the campaign at the time. So that was I was nerding out about that. I was like, I was having a good time. My wife was like, man, you look like you had a good time. I was like, I saw 2 of our friends, and we got to see the cool stuff they did, the cool stuff we did, came up with a plan, and that was the campaign. It was just like hanging out with friends. So it was just kind of cool stuff. I love doing stuff like that.
That's awesome. I remember playing a campaign with DM once, and we did it real hardcore. Like, if I'm gonna give something to you, like, I'm gonna give you a note that says something, so only you really know it, so nobody had to worry about like character knowledge invading, or the player knowledge and the character knowledge split. It's so cool. Like, that sounds amazing to me.
And this is one of the reasons you come out live or go to our YouTube channel to watch the video. So when you said the Council of Strider or whatever it was, 2 heads went, oh, I know what you're doing. I'm going, sure, whatever you say, sure. I mean, but they were like that with you. And then to see the smile on Daddy Steven's face when you're talking about the friendship and the splitting, and he was just the beaming. You got to come see the faces. You got to come out and watch the video. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Get real wholesome.
I'm going to go tech dad nerdy, right? And this is fatherhood meets fandom, right? It's Joe and I are fathers. We love talking about our work to each other. We like talking about our kids. We have questions. We want to know things. We want to pass on information to our kids. All these different things. But we're nerds, and we want to talk about rising golf clubs or whatever it is, and have fun that way. So this is for all the audio tech nerds right now. As I was getting online tonight, I was before I got online, I said, well, Joe doesn't really record a lot of times the Patreon, right? And so if I'm gone, we might miss out on that. How am I going to record that? And I remembered a program I bought a little while back, and it is only for the Mac, right? The Apple OS system. I believe most of their programming is, but it's by a company called Rogue Amoeba. And you can sponsor this show anytime, because I swear by Rogue Amoeba products. And I'm about to share the screen here for those listening on the podcast. You can go watch the clip at the end of the show. But this is Audio Hijack. And this is a template that was just built in. I went in and said, wait, I remember I bought it a while back because I had a problem where I lost audio right from recording, but we had the video, but I did not have access to that YouTube channel to like download the video and strip the audio. So I had to record the audio. So I got Audio Hijack to let you listen to anything. You can have software, you can listen to the system, you can listen to whatever. And so I was able to hit play on the YouTube video, have it listen to the audio, and record the MP3 for me that could then produce for that client and put it out. So I have it still on my computer. So, let me see what to do. This was a setting to do a remote podcast through VoIP. And so it's already set up. I just had to pick my beats for my microphone. And as you can see, I'm on my own channel recording my own track. And then the audio application, which I went with Google Chrome, right? So we record StreamYard here. You have your own VU meters. You guys see the screen. Somebody say something. Watch this.
Hi, Charles.
And it's old school VU meters that go back and forth, and I love it. And you have your own track. And then it splits up all the audio.
And you have your own track. And you going full Oprah over here.
Right? But then it has the auto mix track, right? And it's just built in. I think this was like a $40 program, maybe $100. I don't remember. I bought it so long ago, I don't remember. It's amazing. I love Audio Hijack. And I wish this was a paid sponsorship. I really do, but it's just it's so amazing.
It's so good, dude. We used to use it back in the day, years ago. We're talking 2007, 2008. I had Audio Hijack on a Mac. I would kill for this on Linux and Windows. Like, absolutely. Like, voice meter's a thing, but this is just so intuitive. Rogue Amoeba, they make amazing stuff. I would pay for that 3 times. Like, just looking at it, it's gorgeous.
Man, I'm so glad you guys have brought so many different things that I just like copy paste, SpeakPipe, okay, Rogue Amoeba, okay, Buffer, okay. Like, this was so cool that was neat.
Yeah. And I thought I'd have to build it. It's very much a plug and play. It drops a cube in, you say I need it to be an input device, and you pick a device. I needed to grab. So I thought I was going to have to build the chain myself. What really made me nerd out about tonight is like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk about this in my nerding out. It was just like, what do you want to do? And I picked the button, and it came set up. I just had to drop it in Chrome in one, my Beats in the other, and it's done. And then you just hit run on the screen, and it's recording at 44.1 kilohertz automatically.
Let's go.
It's my fun point tonight. But with that, since they don't sponsor us, we can't afford to go past an hour and a half. So it is time for us to go home. We love you all. Real quick, Steven, hit us again in a minute. We got you. Hold on.
Follow these nerdy dads.
No, don't take it.
It said follow these nerdy dads. Aren't you going to ask Steven and Vito where they can follow these nerdy dads?
Steven's a fatty.
Dad and faux pas.
F-A-D-D-Y, fatty, fake daddy. So, yes, Vito, where can we find you?
At Anthony Vito _ on most social media, or Linktree / Anthony Vito _ I am your faux pas.
And you can follow me at Steve H&H pretty much everywhere, including Linktree / Steve H&H. And I've already promoted Half Hour Power, but I also do a show called Those Were the Days with TV's Travis, Amy Frost, and Audie Norman. It's the best show about old TV you're likely to find. So get over there at Those Were the Days and just find it on your podcatchers. Download it. It's awesome. And SpeakPipe us. SpeakPipe.com /2dorks.
He's a dad we all need.
And who cares about Charles? So we're just going to hit that button.
It's it! Button!
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
Excellent!
Incredible.